Tuesdays. And I'm excited this week because last week I talked about the Ask Lily form so someone can ask a question, and someone did. So let's get into the episode first before we get into the question that was asked. So I was looking through my list, and I think I'm going to jump into support system. So once upon a time, I had a health setback, and my older brother is talking to me. He's like, which reminds me, I have to call him back, but he's telling me, or he's asking me, what's your support system? And I didn't have any. All of the spaces I was showing up in were not equal exchange spaces. So now I identify my support system as the things that I choose to do. Like I listen to Michael Singer podcast. I create this podcast, right? I go to dance class. Everything I do has everything to do with supporting myself. I'm not portraying myself in any metric. From the food that I eat to trying to sync my lifestyle with my time and what's going on around me, everything is my support system. Everything that I show up for in turn is showing up for me. And my life is like unfolding this way. This is a new thing for me. So I'm like adapting to it, but that's what my support system is. In addition to modalities I use, rituals and practices. Somebody's having technical difficulties. Rituals and practices, therapies, or practitioners that I follow. I mentioned practitioners during our last episode. All of that is my support system. So I'm supporting myself in that way, but I'm offering this as a topic just so other people can inquire, like, hey, what's my support system? Like, what does that look like? What relationships or communities that I'm a part of? I feel like community, at least for me, is an overused word right now, because like LinkedIn is considered a community. Instagram could be considered a community. All these social platforms can be considered community. But my bottom line with community is like, is it interactive? Not was this curated with a black girl in mind, or is it somewhere where I could actually show up in the world and reciprocate? Like recently, look, great, like this is great. This week I had an alumni event at my college, which was great. We had an alumni come back, talk about her career, super cool. At the end of the event, the entire room lined up to talk to her, and I mingled a little bit, said hey to a couple of people I remember, but for the most part of it, everybody's interest was the speaker. So in my head, I was thinking, I wonder how exhaustive that was for her, or if they planned for that, or if they could have planned it like speed dating so she could have 5 minutes with everyone. I don't know. I said hi, I appreciate her, introduced myself, and I moved. But I say that to say, because there's this really famous Issa Rae quote, like, people want to network up, they need to network across. People don't understand what it is. People will give they betcha by golly why last dollar to work for a stranger than to work with their neighbor or someone that they can absolutely touch. Or I find that I haven't experienced the same work ethic, or any work ethic at all. Like, even like my life is such a great experience for this. Like, I was working with someone on a project and they recently dropped out, and it's like now I have to like pivot and keep moving, of course, right, because that's life. But simultaneously, I don't believe that people drop out of things when there's bigger names associated with it. Like, I don't know if that's clear, but let's say if I love L'Oreal makeup and L'Oreal called me in pro bono, like, hey, we want to test some new things, could you fly here? I'm going to figure out how to get there because I love L'Oreal, as opposed to it's prom time, I can go to my local Rite Aid or CVS, buy some L'Oreal makeup, make a couple of Instagram videos and promote it, and try to do every little girl's makeup on my street. So say if that was my plan, that was my initiative, I set that out, and then L'Oreal actually calls me because I'm doing all these videos, do I cancel on these little girls that live on my street because I want the bigger fish? And it's just like, how supportive is that? Like, and I know that's like a wild way for me to ramp this around, but I wanted to make a full identity of what that Issa Rae quote is. Like, you could literally have a support system of your peers, people like you, people at your level doing the same things and work. it's really difficult to find those super productive spaces in real life, at least for me. So I'm going to continue to be my support system for me while I admire other people's support systems. But I'm going to make sure that I'm doing the work in the world. So be it as it may, like one of those opportunities pop up, I can be available, but I want the same work ethic around the board. I want to be able to support my local community as opposed to the super corporate community if that opportunity comes. And that's really why I'm saying the term community is like used a lot, because it's from a space of you're not engaging. Community to me when I was a kid was like my neighborhood and having a block captain, everybody cooking food for each other, a drill team coming around, everybody knowing each other's name. That was community. I think the term community can be used in a space where you don't know everybody's name, but it's just comforting, like, oh, that person looks like me. So I'm big on talking to strangers, especially this year. So find your support system in those communities, talk to people more and engage more. But for me, my community is like where I show up. Like I'm a reflection of that for myself. As much as I admire and adore and fantasize about other communities, I want to be that for myself. So I just want you to ask yourself, like, support system, am I a part of that, or am I liking those pictures? And do I in turn like the things that are in the system that I'm in, like my local spaces? Like, am I liking those things? I just wonder. Okay. Just want to impact support systems for you. I'm going to list a couple of the communities that I'm a part of where I try to reach out to people and connect with people. Black Creatives is one. I Love Creatives is another one. Sad Girls Club is one I've been admiring for a long time. And Black Girls on Broadway. It's this new Instagram page that I'm following, but I'll list them in this episode. Those are just some of my favorite things, but check them out. Maybe they'll lead to some of your favorite things. And build your own support system. Show up in the world in the way that you like to see it. So now we can get to our segment for Talk Tuesdays called Ask Lily. Oh, I should add some effects. And that's going to be more work. But besides that, the question this week for Ask Lily was housing instability. So now I want to be clear. If you fill out the Google form for Ask Lily, you have to actually ask a question. You have to be super specific and direct, because the intention is to provide help and point you in a direction of help if I don't know the answer. So housing instability isn't a question. I tried to reach out to the person to get further information, and the person, that conversation ended up not getting more and more specific. So be clear. If you're going to use the form, if you're going to share the form, please do, but be specific. If you're just interested in talking, that's what the podcast is for. Please listen, share, comment, like, and subscribe, comments, DM, do those type of things. But for this form to help people, we have to be super specific. So housing instability. First, let's just speak on housing in general. Wherever you live, your state and city, like your city and state, locally look up what housing means in those spaces. I live in a mega city, so there's multiple housing lotteries. So there's public housing and there's private housing. And then there's housing that's congruent to your income base, and then there's housing alternatives. Housing alternatives could be room shares, renting, subleasing, subletting, Craigslist, which is what I used to use years ago. But there's so many platforms now that are cleaner than Craigslist if you're looking into housing. But if I could full circle this back to the original topic of a support system, whatever you like to do in the world, whatever your communities are, if you talk about housing in those spaces, you'll find information and resources. I know for a fact, if I go to a church and I'm talking to people after church, I'm going to hear about sister so-and-so got a room, or so-and-so, somebody moving out. You kind of got to be in those spaces and conversations. If you're in school, if you're at work, like just talking about it and mentioning it. There's a lot of things on social media, but really think about physically where you are so you can navigate it. One of my favorite things about housing, because I'm from a small city, there's this list, and I know every city has this list, is sheriff's sale. So it's all the properties of the city and state that are in tax abatement. Maybe they couldn't keep up with their bills, maybe they wanted to move out. Whatever the situation can be with the house, it is available to buy. So that market kind of became dominated in urban cities by developers because the houses were cheap. There was even this thing for a while about dollar houses, but I'm just very interested in housing in general, so I'm always have my ear up to those conversations. So if you know anybody that's an electrician, a contractor, you see things developing in an area, keep your ear up and keep your eye out for those things, and really look up your city local government website so you can find that information, because share sale was even a thing during COVID. It turned into an online thing because of COVID. So it still was available, and it still is available. But in regards to housing, look up where you live or where you want to live. And then where you go from there is where you go from there. There's so many alternatives available. But make sure you look at... And also educate yourself. So if you're looking to buy a house, for example, I think you have to do a first time home buyer seminar. But if you're in those spaces where someone is hosting an information session on first time home buyers, then you're in a space like you might, the hosting may be by a nonprofit or by a private host, but you're in a conversation of what that means. So kind of stick to those spaces, sign up for those lists, be super positive. Your name's going to come up, and then you'll get out of housing instability. But housing is really it's such a broad issue. I don't even know where to go. It could be career housing, like there's RA. You could be a resident aide for college or for conservatory programs or for summer programs, and that's seasonal and cyclical, but it's still housing. There's artist housing. There's spiritual housing. If you're in an ashram, if you're studying the Bhagavad Gita, housing is, I feel like, it's subsequent on the subculture that you're in. So you kind of got to process and navigate the world that way. Well, that's Ask Lady. I hope that was enough information. If you wanted to be pointed to a realtor or a broker, you got to tell me that, so I can help you as best as I can. But anyway, thanks for listening. Please like it, rate it, hate it, subscribe, share it, comment about it, because this is season 3 of Talk Tuesdays, and Ask Lily is a new segment. So I just want to make sure I'm developing, growing, and sharing information, because that's the whole premise of this. So have a great day. See you guys next week. Bye-bye.